right north of Highway 62. If you live here in Caswell County, right on the other side of Highway 19, this is the spot that's rotating a little bit. So we're going to switch modes. I'm going to change the colors on here, and they'll look either green or red. And what we don't really want to see is those greens and reds right up against each other. I'm going to switch it to this mode real fast. And you can see there is enough rotation here. If we zoom out the view, you'll see that there's a slight rotation. It's not much, and a lot of times when it comes to tropical systems, the tornadoes are fairly weak and hard to detect by the radar. One of the things that we notice is that they're super low to the ground, but there is rotation happening right here. This tornado warning for Caswell County until about 6 o'clock this evening, which is just for the next 15 minutes or so. It's generally moving in this area, but I'll tell you, the motion is not set in stone. So if you live in high towers, I would be in your safe spot. If you're certainly in the Anderson community, specifically between Highway 119 and Highway 62, make sure you are taking shelter from this storm. But this is brand new information. The storm is kind of rotating in, and there are others that are a part of this line that we would want to keep an eye on. I certainly have my eye on this one here too, which does not right now have a tornado warning, but we're seeing the same thing, a little bit of rotation here. That one is right there on the border of Caswell and Rockingham, right there just to the south of 150, right along Highway 87. So this too, all of this line wants to be rotating and spinning a little bit. What it's doing, it's kind of one of the last bands of the tropical system. One of the big questions we got the last few hours is Debbie done? And it kind of seemed like it, right? It stopped raining for a little while, but then we saw the sunshine come out, and right now we have this really big feeder band, which is kind of what we call it. It's a strong area of rainfall, and you'll notice one of the things that makes a tropical storm or a hurricane a tropical system is that they rotate and they spin pretty much on their own. The storm center is here, and all of these bands are already rotating. When it comes to tropical systems, if you are going to get tornadoes, they're almost always going to be on the right-hand side of the storm. So earlier today, there were so many of those in eastern North Carolina. The warnings, but also the big ones that are caused damage as well, and unfortunately some fatalities too. This is part of that same idea where you're on the right-hand side of the storm system and you're getting some of that rotation. So that's the why. Let's go back and give you the what as we zoom in a little bit closer to Caswell County. And also, we're going to keep an eye on Rockingham County too. If the storm holds together, it would maintain this motion, taking it right up here through the rest of Caswell, up toward Pelham would be in the line of that, and eventually into Southside Virginia too. Reidsville, I want you to be on guard as well. That storm system that was spinning right about here, well, that's headed your way. So we're going to watch all of these things really over the next 15 to 20 minutes as we're with you here talking about this threat of tornadoes. A lot of times tropical systems produce weak tornadoes, but as we saw earlier in North Carolina, some of them are actually quite strong with Debbie, and it seems to have the ability to produce them very, very fast. If you've been outside the last couple of hours, you might have noticed that the clouds are extremely low to the ground. It almost looks like you could reach up and touch the clouds. Why is that important here? Well, when the clouds are already really low, it doesn't take much to spin up a quick tornado for it to reach the ground and cause that damage. We call it a low LCL, or lifted condensation level. But it's basically just the cloud base, and it's really close to the ground, and that is something we certainly have today and usually do with tropical systems because it's so darn humid outside. So again, tornado warning continues right here for the Anderson area of Caswell County. It would be approaching Locust Hill on that current trajectory. Ruffin, you would want to be watching this storm very carefully as well if it eventually holds into Rockingham County. Just to put the storm details on here, it is a radar indicated tornado, as we call it. That means it hasn't been seen with human eyes or confirmed by a spotter. We also haven't noticed any damage yet on our radar. Sometimes with our tools, we're able to see that if it's lofted up into the air. That has not happened just yet. So in this case, it is something that's just nerve-wracking on radar, and we want to make sure people are taking it seriously. We are getting new information. We get a new scan every couple of minutes of the radar, and it's always important to analyze it. So right now, if there were to be a storm, it would be crossing Highway 62 as we speak, and anytime we're showing you radar, it's always a 30 seconds to 1 or 2 minutes old. that means that storm is already right about here. So it's pushing off to the north and to the west, up toward Locust Hill. I'm going to read the text here from the Weather Service on this system, the storm speed and the motion, so we can give you some ETAs. It is moving to the north and to the west at about 20 miles per hour. So this is an alert for Caswell County till 6 o'clock. 20 miles per hour to the north and to the west. We'll put a storm track on here for you and give you as many towns. All right, see, so while we're here, we're going to finish that one up, and then we're going to go to this one. I just told you that this storm was rotating, headed toward Reedsville. This is a new tornado warning for Rockingham County, including the city of Reedsville and much of the southeast corner of Rockingham, including Highway 29. So we have two different tornado warnings that we're tracking right now. Why? The same reason we just showed you. They're both spinning around. So if you live in Reedsville, in this part of Rockingham County, you have got to be taking it seriously and get to a safe spot. Get to a safe spot while you are there. A couple of ETAs for you, as we said. This storm in Caswell County first. If it is going to be moving off to the north and west, we're going to track it just like this for you. It would be approaching Locust Hill by 6:14, Caswell by about 6:14 as well, and Jericho too. I'm going to zoom in though. Let's go to the Rockingham County one because we haven't gotten a tight view of that system yet. This one is right about here. So that roadway is Highway 150, I believe. Yes, it sure is. So that's Highway 150. Right here, I'm going to move it just so the super doesn't cover it. That's the spinning spot in Rockingham County. That rotating movement is what concerns us. And it is on a beeline now for parts of Reedsville. So again, if this is moving off to the north, this is going to be coming towards you in the Reedsville area in just the next couple of minutes. I'm having a hard time tracking this here. There we go. So if it stays on its current track, it would be moving toward Reedsville by 6:05, Penn Memorial Hospital right after that, the middle school area right after that as well. Sooner, New Hope Church right around 5:54, and Hillview Church at about 5:56. So again, this is a storm that could be producing a tornado right now. It would be crossing over toward Reedsville in through this part of Rockingham County where a lot of folks live, right there along the Highway 29 corridor too. So if you know folks in the Reedsville city area, in that part of Rockingham, make sure they know about this warning. Give them a text, give them a call, make sure they're going off to a safe spot because you don't have a lot of time. We're talking about right now it's 5:50. This warning goes through about 6:15. That's not much time. And again, we just showed you it would be approaching Highway 29 in just about 10 minutes. So there is not much time to take shelter from this one. Now, we don't want to forget about both of these at the same time, right? And then the question is, well, could we have others? There's another storm over here. We always want to be watching multiple when it comes to a tropical system. If we put on the velocity scans here, we do see some of that rotating air, as we talked about, there and there. That makes sense to me. And then if we look over here, we're going to also keep an eye over here by Blues Lake. There's not much rotation, but there is a storm there. And if it follows the trend that we've seen over on these other storms, it could also have a similar outcome. We don't want that to be the case, but we are watching it too. So again, right around Highway 150 right now. Don't know of any reports of any tornadoes just yet. We're always going to be, in tune with our newsroom, our other meteorologists, our other reporters, and anchors are going to help us out with this coverage and make sure we're keeping everybody in the know as best we can. But as of right now, we can't confirm any tornadoes, but there are radar indications that there's enough rotation that we want to be taking it seriously. Not hearing anything from our weather service partners either of any damage. They're just saying there is enough rotation to have them concerned. So let's go back to the regular old radar here, and we're going to go in a street level as we like to do. So this storm in Rockingham County, which does have a tornado warning through 6:15, is right here near Gardner Road. We have Scott Road up here, very rural part at this part of the area, but Highway 87 is right here. And you might know this if you take 87 to get to 29. That's the spot we're talking about. That rotation is pushing just to the north and west, and it would be coming up on 29 in just a couple of minutes. We can measure the distance here. It's only about 3 miles away from Highway 29, and it looks like it would be on a crash course right there for downtown Reedsville. So folks that live in the city of Reedsville, it would be right toward that middle portion of the city if it were to hold together. But we are seeing that rotation. We're seeing the darker reds, which would indicate a stronger system. system. These are probably very shallow systems right now, different thunderstorms. They're not tall is what I mean. They're only about 20,000 feet tall, which sounds impressive, but a lot of times in the summer we get storms that are 30, 40,000 feet high. This is a tropical system. It's a bit different. They're not built the same way. So this is a shallow storm, but as I said before, it's so humid outside. The clouds are so low to the ground that you almost could just drag that cloud down with your hand if you tried to. It's that kind of a day, and it makes it easier for tornadoes to form compared to otherwise. So right now we have 2 tornado warnings. If you're just tuning in, you're saying, Tim, what's going on? When is this system going to be over? We are taking all of our time right now to inform people who are in the path of both of these tornado warnings. There's one, the first one that we got was for Caswell County. Then the next one for Rockingham. This is still in effect north of the Anderson community. It's actually crossing a new highway now. It's right around the Highway 62 area. If we zoom in, it's right over 62 at the moment. That is that spinning motion of the storm that could be producing a tornado. We just got a new scan though. Let's get the latest on this. As you bear with us, we're always, going by the seat of our pants when it comes to these things. But there is still enough rotation there that might concern the Weather Service. That's that rotation at the moment. It is still headed up toward Locust Hill. You have friends, family in Locust Hill? If you live there, get to a safe spot. This is what you need to do to keep yourself safe. But this storm is certainly making a very slow track. It's not that fast. It's about 25 miles per hour. It is moving off to the north and to the west. Caswell County, that's what we're looking for you. In Rockingham, it's a different situation, but just as serious. There's your spinning motion. Wind in the red going this way, wind in the green going this way. It's like a spinning top how these storms work out. And Reedsville is in the path, or at least in the danger zone with this particular storm. So you want to make sure you're getting to a safe spot here in the Reedsville community. We have 2 tornado warnings that we're tracking for you on air. Folks on the control room, if you hear anything new or any information that we need to let folks know about, please go ahead and let me know. But otherwise, we're just going to stay on this because these things can really change at a moment's notice. And in Rockingham and Caswell, we have both of these tornado warnings right now. We also have meteorologist Claire Fry that's been tracking this, along with me throughout the day. We came in, we talked about the flooding. We knew there was a low tornado threat, but right now it's really happened in just a quick couple of minutes, Claire, that we just saw those swirl up enough to put these warnings out.
Certainly, Tim, and we've been keeping an eye on this system all day as we start to see more tornado warnings just in the northeast quadrant of this storm. Although a tropical depression now, it can offer just enough spin enough for some of these tornado couplets to form and to just trigger off some of these warnings. We still have 2 as of right now in Caswell and in Rockingham County. You could see as of now, not seeing much hail with these systems, but they're still going to be seeing pretty tight couplets, which is very concerning in terms of possibly seeing something on the ground. For now, this is kind of the rotation that we're looking at the moment. You could see it kind of heading toward Fitch here, this big line. This is what we're looking at, the couplet toward and away motion, the green toward and then the red away. This is where we'd see the rotation. And as it continues to push, that direction's heading through Fitch and then eventually through 62 toward High Towers if it is able to hold together. And that is just one as of right now. That is the one right now in Caswell County. The one in Rockingham County that we're also keeping an eye on also looks like there could be some rotation right there. Holding steady, it could make it to Reedsville. This is where we're also looking at away motion, toward motion. This is where the rotation begins right here at 150, right between Ashland and heading towards Reedsville if this is able to hold together. Now, something I can do is be able to see if there are any debris balls. This would kind of help me. This kind of tells me if there's anything up in the air for right now. For right now, it doesn't look like we could be seeing anything. I don't see anything too much standing out for right now with this particular cell as well as this other one in Caswell County, but that could very well change as we get updates just every 90 seconds or so between radar scans. And they do look pretty tight at the moment. And we're going to continue to watch these as they continue to push through the Piedmont Triad this next hour or so. The good news is this one toward Fitch, as of now, looks like it is weakening, I would say. I'm not seeing quite as much rotation there, but the one near Rockingham, we're keeping a very close eye on it for the next 20 minutes or so. These mornings are until around 6 o'clock, but we'll continue to watch them. Past that, this line of storms is going to continue. Actually, this Rockingham one has been extended to 6:15. We've been keeping a very close eye on the system, and with this line of storms continuing to be able to rotate fairly quickly, we'll be keeping a very close eye on it. Tim, I know you've got even more details on stuff going on, so I want to give you a quick toss to you.
Yeah, Claire, I certainly agree with everything you said there. We're still watching and, just letting people know. Our main job when it comes to this is to let you know of possible danger. There's no danger in this. There is possibly some danger in each of those red boxes, and we want to make sure that you are staying safe, your family, your kids, your grandkids are in a good position. So let's get right to it. We're going back to the Reedsville community. Minutes now is when we're talking about this storm pushing your way. Minutes away from Reedsville at the moment. This is the storm. I'm going to pause it because that rotation is a little bit distracting. Let me go back to my last graphic there. There we go. So we've paused it. This is the storm system that does have some of that rotation, okay? And it is pushing at about 20 miles per hour right here toward Highway 29. So all you need to know is that the storm system could be producing a tornado. So you do not want to be around windows or exterior walls. Get yourself to an inside spot. If you're worried about still wanting to get the information, take out your phone, watch us on your phone when you get to your safe spot. We can be with you and hold your hand through this and let you know where it's going. City of Reedsville, it certainly looks to me like this would be passing on the northern side of downtown. So let's use our street level mapping and get a little bit closer as well. This is the exit for Highway 150 right along US 29. So that's the exit you might be familiar with, okay? That's the exit, and then we go toward the city. We're talking about, let's see, 158 on the north side of town. It's basically going to parallel that or just go to the north. So it means that the city of Reedsville over here, you're probably on the south side of it if you are in downtown or on the south side of the city. So the storm system itself is moving right about in that general motion. So if you're right along the Highway 158 corridor, you are in the path of this potential tornado. Again, we don't know for sure, but it is a potential tornado here for Rockingham County. We're going to switch back to the velocity, and when we go back here, we're not seeing quite as much as we once did. I'll switch it back to here. It looks like this is a little bit weaker on the last couple of scans. To make sure we're right on that, let's kind of scoot back a couple of frames. And you'll notice back here, this was about 15 minutes ago, we had more of a red up against the green. Now that's gotten a little bit more weak, a little bit more muddy, a little bit more diffuse. That's all good. We want that to be more muddy. We want it to be less clear because that might mean the storm is weakening a little bit. It is still enough of a concern that you want to be in a safe spot. So if you have friends, family in Reedsville, if you live in Reedsville, especially on the north side, right near Highway 150, get to a safe spot right now, away from those windows, away from those exterior walls. Same thing goes for you. Well, actually, this is news as well. We do not seem to have this tornado warning in Caswell County continuing. So right now, we're down to 1. It's going to all be about Rockingham County here. You saw that rotation weaken a little bit before getting to Locust Hill. Now we're talking about a tornado warning. You're watching News 2 at 6 o'clock here this evening as we track Tropical Storm Debbie, which became a tropical depression. Now we have to focus on a tornado warning for the next 15 minutes in Reedsville. Unless it gets canceled, this runs until 6:15 for the Reedsville area. Caswell County has been removed from the tornado warning, and we are just looking at this rotation right about here. If you're in the path of this, what do you do? Where do you go? What do you do to keep yourself safe? Well, it all comes down to putting as many barriers between yourself and the outside as possible. So when we talk about tornado safety, we're really wanting to make sure you are in the best places in the home and away from the outside walls as best you can. Obviously, you don't want to be outdoors. We all know that. But even bedrooms, things like that that have an outside wall. When it comes to tornadoes, sometimes they can throw objects, projectiles, through the air. It's really not the wind that's dangerous. It's what's in the wind that's dangerous. So you want to be away from those exterior walls, and you want to put as many barriers between you and the outside as possible. If your house looked like this, you would want to be in this closet. And the reason for that is that you have more barriers between you and the outside as possible. The hallway would also be a decent choice because you have a lot of those outside areas, maybe a stairwell or maybe a bathroom that has no windows if you don't have any other options. Lowest level of your home, more barriers between you and the outside as possible. You want to make it hard for any sort of objects flying your way to get to you. So you put walls there, anything like that will allow you to stay a little bit safer, of course. We say this sometimes and people laugh about it, but there's truth to it. Grab yourself a helmet and put on shoes. I always remember our meteorologist, Rand Kirksey, a couple years ago, always told folks to put on a helmet. It's great advice because it protects your head. And if you put on shoes, if you have damage, then you're going to have your feet protected as well afterwards, and you wouldn't be stepping on anything bad. Avoid the windows, avoid those outside walls and doorways. We'll get back to the latest live radar now. What they've done here is they've trimmed up the warning. Remember when it began, it was all the way down here. Well, now the storm continues to travel along and they've just kind of cleaned it up. So the only part of Rockingham County that's under alert right now is in this red box. However, if we widen out the view, it is possible to imagine this thing continuing closer to Wentworth and then Eden farther down the line, okay? Ruffin, you're not in the path of this. Pelham isn't either, and Stoneville probably not, but it is passing right there along the north side of the city of Reidsville. And if we zoom in on a closer view, you're going to get an idea of what we're talking about. Those reds on the radar are where that possible rotation is. And remember, radar coverage is pretty poor in our part of the state of North Carolina. So we're always looking a little bit above where we'd like to with the radar beam until we get a radar closer by the government. Now this is where that rotation is. It's right here, moving closer to Highway 29 and Highway 150. Downtown's right here. So if you're in downtown, you're probably going to be on the south side of the storm. But you're still close enough to be put in a safe spot. Please get yourself to a safe location. You can still watch us in your safe place. But again, this is that rotation that we're still watching here. It's on Brooks Road. If we call this out, Brooks Road, Knowles Road right here, Sweet Gum Road, Grooms Road, all impacted potentially. And then you would have yourself the actual exit here from Highway 158. So you have Bayberry Road. And then 158 itself is crossing 29 right at that point. That's where the rotation is. I'm going to flip back on the velocity and then see how it's looking now compared to before. And unfortunately, we still see enough rotation that makes me pretty nervous. When we talk about regular tornadoes and tropical tornadoes, they're kind of built a little differently. And when we look at the radar, a lot of times on a tropical day, the signature, or what I mean is the appearance, it doesn't have to be that impressive to get an impressive storm. So unfortunately, even though we don't see bright reds against greens, there's enough discoloration here that makes me concerned this could be producing a tornado right about here in southeast Rockingham County. It is moving just like this. Off to the north and to the west at about 20 miles per hour. So your time to get safe in Reidsville, on the north side of Reidsville, that time is right now. Only a couple minutes before it's going to be crossing the highway and going over toward Reidsville in Rockingham County. This continues till 6:15. That's what you're watching here on News 2 at 6 o'clock. Myself, Claire Fry, and the news team are keeping you informed about this storm, and we're trying to learn more information all the time. Meteorologist Claire Fry, you've been watching stuff, maybe in touch with the National Weather Service. Any new information or things you want to add as we watch this possible storm?
Well, it looks like just in the latest update within the last 3 minutes, we still have this tornado warning ongoing. This was just from 4 minutes ago. This tornado warning is going to continue until around 6:15. So we'll be keeping eyes on it. Although in just the last radar scan, it does look like it could be weakening. This is the live radar scan right now where you can see those high reflectivities where you're seeing a lot of heavy rain here where this tornado warning is and where this rotation is as well, right near Brooks Road, right near Knowles Road, Stockton Road, all toward this area right here on 29 if you're heading toward the north. And I kind of give you a better picture of where that rotation is specifically. I think it has been kind of weakening just a bit from the last scan or two, which is a very good thing to see, obviously, but this warning is going to continue, so it's something to take seriously for the next 10 to 15 minutes or so as we watch to make sure that it is going to to continue to weaken. Now, there is still a lot of heavy rain within this band, so regardless on whether or not there is a touchdown, I do want you to get to your safe place that's away from windows, that's in the most interior side of your building. There is still a little bit of rotation there, and there is a lot of heavy rainfall right here in Brooks Road. Let's take a look at our correlation coefficient. What this does for us is it kind of gives you an idea of whether or not things are getting picked up off the ground, such as buildings or portions of buildings or trees or power lines, anything of that sort that could be lifted up in the air and kind of show us something different that's in the atmosphere. And good news, as of now, I'm not seeing much of a debris dot here in the tracker, which would tell me that this is not quite as strong as it could be, as we could have seen earlier from this rotation. Now, we still are seeing a lot of reflectivity, which means it's a lot of heavy rainfall in these outer bands, all in association with tropical storm, now tropical depression, Debbie, continuing to push toward the north. And again, that system is continuing to push toward the northwest at around 20 miles per hour. Here's the latest look at that live radar. Again, this is still impacting counties in Rockingham until around 6:15. No hail, but this is something to definitely be concerned about. Here are some of those tornado safety tips. Again, go to the lowest level of a well-built structure, take cover in the small central interior room, and you're going to want to remain in shelter until the storm has passed. We've got coverage here for about 7 more minutes, and that's if they don't expire the warning. Tim, what are you seeing?
Claire, it's all the same. Right now we're just watching and waiting and, nervously watching a storm, always, of course. But the best thing you can do is, if you live here, just to prepare yourself. Without eyes confirming this on the ground, we don't know if there's a tornado or not, but there is enough rotation to make us concerned. And the best thing you can do is to put your family in a safe position. So get to that lower level of the home. If you don't have multiple levels, get to the inside part of wherever you might live and put as many barriers between you and the outside as possible. For me at my house, it's the laundry room, it's the closet. The staircase too. Those are the best things for me. Yours is going to be a little bit different. You have to make the best choice that you can for you and yours with this storm. But here's Reidsville. We're getting the latest scan on this here, and it's still pretty organized on the reflectivity. We're not seeing a lot of rotation any longer on the velocity scan. That could still change. There is still some brightness here, which would indicate at minimum some really gusty winds are possible. But boy, oh boy, you want to be in a safe spot when it comes to taking a chance, right? You don't want to take a chance. You might have seen some of the news coverage earlier today out in eastern and central North Carolina. Boy, there's been so many tornadoes, and they have really made big damage to that part of the state. Now, this is far weaker than those, but it just reemphasizes all we're doing here is giving you a chance to protect yourself. So we really want to make sure that you're doing that in this case. And there is some rotation, but it's not as strong as it once was. We hope that's a trend that continues. This is the movement on the storm system. I'll give you a couple more loops of this, then I'm going to pause it. And we're going to go into those street views so you can keep yourself informed, okay? That's the center of town, by the way. Reidsville is going to be passing just north of the center of town right about now. On the wider view, this is pushing up Highway 14. It'll kind of parallel that once it gets beyond Reidsville. So let's go back in tight and watch those closer views. This is Highway 29, of course. There's Scale Street. We have Moorhead Street, Market Street, Saunders Avenue. We also have Willow Street, Winstead Street, Adams Road. That's where it is right now. If it's together, it just crossed 29. Those darker reds just crossed Highway 29 right along 150. So if you're in this area, this is the spot that storm would be if there is one right now. Where it isn't is on the south side of town. You're getting some really terrible rainfall. And by the way, nobody is ever going to see this tornado. Why? It is raining so incredibly hard there that it would be completely obstructed. We call it rain wrapped. You're never going to see this. So you have to just kind of take it at faith that there is that rotation there and you want to be in that safe spot right now. So it's on the north side of Reidsville. As we said, the rotation has maybe weakened a little bit, but the warning is still in place with good reason. We have these brightish colors. Actually, let me query this here and see just how strong. This is really whipping around. So about 50, 60 mile per hour winds. Even if there weren't a tornado here, you're probably really getting some nasty wind gusts. Boy, we've had plenty of that throughout the day. Everybody in our area has had those gusty winds. So you know just what the weather's capable of on a day like today. This is just that little extra push with a tornado possible in that region where you could occasionally get some much higher winds. That's what we're talking about here. A lot of times tropical tornadoes are short-lived. They don't last that long. But in this case, this is holding together pretty fine at the moment. And you can see back here, this is where it started. And now here's where it is now. It is seeming to hold its intensity fairly well, although the rotation maybe not quite as strong as it once was. I'm going to put something on here called our rotation tracker. And what this tries to do is just kind of estimate how much spin this storm might have. As it loads here, what you would look for would be little blips of dark blue or even lighter shades of blue. We're not really seeing that right now. So as long as everything's loading properly, there's not a ton of rotation analyzed by our News 2 radar at the moment, which kind of goes along with what we were just showing you on radar. It might have weakened a little bit. But if there is there, it's right there on the north side of the city, going right along Highway 158 and in Reedsville proper. Again, if you have friends, family up here, make sure they know about it. Not everybody stays in touch with the news quite like you do, and they might not even have a clue if their phone was far away from them. And believe it or not, some people turn those alerts off because they just don't want to be bothered. This is the city of Reedsville. It's going right up Highway 158, closing in on Highway 14. On the wider view, this is all part of a big band of rain. This is kind of the last round of really heavy rain that we see from Debbie right now. It started down here in Randolph County around 4 o'clock, and now it's moved all the way up to Rockingham and to Caswell and Danville, Virginia, too. There's a little bit of another storm that we would maybe want to keep our eyes on just north of Stokesdale. This is moving right there toward Blues Lake and Blues Creek. This is not as organized as the Reedsville one, but it's the same kind of idea. Maybe a little bit of rotation that we would be looking for. Right now we're watching that storm, and we're going to be with you a little while, folks. So we have a new tornado warning until 6:30 now. So this is an extension of the warning. It was just set to expire only a couple minutes ago, set to expire at 6:15. Now it's been extended to include the city of Wentworth, the north side of Reedsville, and as this pushes off here, we have a new tornado warning until 6:30. Because the storm is just kind of maintaining that intensity, when we see it right here, there's enough oomph to it, enough organization that you kind of have to be a little worried. And so you got to be safe. If you're living right along Highway 14, if you live in Wentworth, you're in the cone now. Respect that cone. It means something. It means we don't know exactly where it's going to travel in that box. Sometimes they change directions. It could curve a little bit this way. It could curve a little bit that way. The center line, of course, is usually the best guess, but even so, everybody within that box is now included. So who's out of the warning and who's in it? Well, if you're on the south side of Reedsville, this storm has passed you by. Highway 29 is now in the clear too, actually. So folks driving up and down 29, going from Greensboro up to Danville, you're fine. But this storm is still spinning quite a bit just north of Reedsville, and it's going to continue tracking. You know, it wouldn't come far from Eden, a little bit farther down the line. So if you live in Wentworth or Eden, you also have to watch this storm very carefully. Get to a safe spot as best you can. Get away from the windows, get away from the doors, get away from the outside walls because you don't know what might be happening. Let's go toward the velocity mode again. We call it velocity. It's really just winds. Which way are the winds blowing in this particular storm? Right now, it's still pretty weak, to be honest with you. There's not a lot of strong rotation here, but it's enough that has the Weather Service concerned. And we haven't had any storm reports yet that I'm aware of. I know we have reporters around the area. I don't think we have any up there yet, but we're going to make some calls and figure out what's going on, and certainly we'll keep you posted if we hear anything of that nature. You know, throughout the day, we've had a lot of power outages across the region. Sometimes those can be clues of what's going on the ground. Well, tell you what, we still have 2,000 people without power in Rockingham County, but that's been the case all day. So that doesn't really give us too many clues either. But this storm, still tracking north of Reedsville, and it's kind of putting Reedsville in its past. So if we zoom back in, let's show you who's in the clear and who needs to be on alert. Downtown Reedsville now is in the clear. That storm has kind of pushed off to the north of you, but we're seeing it really centered right there by 158 and Highway 14. It's right here by Salem Church Road. It's also by Harrison Crossroads Loop right here, and Holden Drive is just a little bit to the south. Then we have Lake Lamar Road, or Lemar Road. Apologies if I'm saying that incorrectly. But it is headed off to the north, maybe a little bit more ragged than it once was. I like that trend here. Maybe we're seeing a little bit of a weakening trend. Claire Fry, if you're still with us, keep an eye on this, right? We're seeing that weakening trend. If you agree with me, I want to see what you have to say about this, but it does look like it might be weakening a little bit, even though we're going to still follow this as long as this warning stays in effect till 6:30.
It does look like it is weakening just in the past couple of minutes, although, for your safety, we're going to keep on with the warning from the National Weather Service. This is kind of where I'm seeing that rotation. And to kind of give you an idea of where this is going, again, downtown Reedville, you are in the clear. Let's put this northwest, as it is moving around 20 to 25 miles per hour northwest. It's going to be around the middle school around 6:17, and then heading toward Harrison Crossroads around 6:25, and Mount Hermon Baptist Church by around 6:29, if this is able to hold together. Again, this is kind of where the rotation is right here. Again, as weak as it may be, we're still going to be keeping eyes on it for your safety. This warning is going to continue until around 6:30, so we've got about 12 minutes left of this warning. To kind of give you a better idea of where this system could be road-wise, let's kind of zoom in a little bit, just south of Harrison Crossings here, where Lake Lamar Road, if you are hearing any of your roads here on, as I say them, make sure you are taking cover, of course, and heading to that interior building as far away from the windows as you can get. Again, let's zoom in just a little bit. Cedar Lane, this is where we're seeing the highest reflectivity, highest rain rate, and even a little bit of rotation, right, with this tornado warning. It's right on 14, Highway 14, if you're heading north. We're keeping an eye on it as well. Looks like we've got another tornado warning, actually just now breaking news in Caswell County, right on the outside of this system. Again, these with this line of storms on the outer band of Debbie, they can spin up fairly easily. So let's head on over to this one as well to see kind of what's going on with this reflectivity. There might be a little bit of rotation in there, so let's take a deeper look at that. Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking at. This couplet, you can see pretty clearly here on the radar. I'll kind of give you a better idea and drag it. That is where the rotation is. And to kind of zoom out just a little bit so I can give you a better idea, this is where it is in Caswell, continuing into Blackwell, Ruffin, Pelham. If you are in this area, make sure you are taking cover. If you know somebody in the area, friends and family, give them a call if they may not be hearing this message. This is a newly warned tornado warning and has a couplet here with very significant rotation continuing to move into Caswell County, as well as that Rockingham County tornado warning is also continuing as well. But this one has more significant rotation, so I'm going to stay on it for just an extra couple of minutes. To kind of give you an idea, let's look at the debris tracker. Not seeing anything as of now, but again, these scans come in at around 90 seconds. So with that could change very quickly. To kind of give you an idea of what those rainfall totals are looking like too, if these can pour rain anywhere between 2 to 3 inches an hour with some of these higher reflectivity rates. Let's kind of give you an idea of where this is on the roads. Again, this is just toward the east of Blackwell. So this is right here near Gun Road, near Allison Road, and we're watching Henderson Road. If you are hearing any of your road names that you live on or a friend lives on, make sure you give them a call or head to your safe place as soon as you can. This is right between Blackwell and Park Spring. There's very significant rotation right here, and you can see it very, very easily right here as well. And this is kind of what we look for in tornadoes. And when you have a couplet like this where you have this green and red, very close together, it tells you that it is rotating and that it is very significant, especially in comparison to the other one. So we'll have to keep an extra close eye on this one. As for the other one, it looks like it is significantly weakening, but for this one, I want to keep a very close eye on it. And with that, I'm going to toss it right to Tim and get the Chief Meteorologist, Tim Buckley's opinion on it.
Yeah, Claire, this has turned into a bit of not an outbreak, but we've had multiple different warnings now. This is the third one, and we're really more impressed by this storm here, which popped up while we were tracking the Reedsville warning, which does look to be weakening. Please still get to a safe spot in this area. If you are in this warning, please do that. But this one is looking stronger, and we're going to focus on this one in Caswell right now. Claire, while I'm tracking this one, keep another eye on the one in Rockingham please. This is that rotation, and boy, oh boy, this is much more impressive, not in a good way than what we saw earlier. This is more of a defined circulation, not what we like to see. That is the wind moving this direction. This one is the wind moving that direction. If there is a positive to draw from this, there are very few, if any, roads in this area, which indicates it is fairly rural. But we are near Blackwell. The community of Blackwell is here. Park Springs Road, Henderson Road, right here near this rotation. We're in Caswell County now, but it's headed toward Rockingham farther down the line. So this is all something you need to watch very carefully. But we're in Caswell here with that rotation. And again, it's crossing 29, probably within the next 10 minutes or so, just by a guess. Let me track this for you here. It will be headed toward Gwynn's Chapel, True Gospel Church by about 6:28. And then Wolf Island Church by about 6:35. Just some points of reference for you. Hickory Grove United Methodist around 6:41 as well. Ruffin High School, you're on the board here at 6:30, just about 10 minutes away. That's the rotation, though. Right here is that possible tornado. If it were to take that current path, it would be coming up in this general area, right along Highway 29, where it crosses into Caswell County from Rockingham County. Are there any exits here that we can reference? It's basically just going to be just south of Pelham, okay? Just to the south of Pelham, just to the north of Ruffin. It's kind of splitting the difference. And again, we have two of these warnings. This one in Rockingham went by Reedsville. No confirmation there. We did call, by the way, up to Rockingham County, not getting any reports of damage yet. That's good, which means maybe it did not touch down. We don't know that yet, and we won't for a little while. But here's that spinning motion on the second one, moving through Caswell. Again, splitting the goalposts between Pelham and Ruffin, heading in this general direction. Eden's up here. You want to pay attention to this if you're in Eden. If it were to hold together, sorry, my mistake. Eden is over here. My mistake on that one. Highway 311, though, right on the line, too, as it would be crossing the Virginia border in about half an hour or so. We'll go back to the velocity scan and just let to see if we notice anything different. There's the rotation, as I said, but I really want to go to the reflectivity. I'm doing a bunch of things at once. This thing really tightened up pretty fast. When we were tracking it earlier, it might be the same storm, and I believe it was. It's the same system that did have a tornado warning on it before, was allowed to drop because it weakened, and now it's been put back on there as we have more rotation on that storm system. Yanceyville, by the way, when these things buzz your phone, it's usually for the whole county. If you're in Yanceyville, you're in the clear. If you're in Reedsville, you're in the clear. We're talking about these storms that are only affecting small chunks of your county. This is well north of Locust Hill. Again, you're in the clear too, but this part of the storm is the one that's rotating. It's just south of Danville. Danville, Virginia up here having some steady, heavy rains, but this one's spinning pretty good. Looks like it's tracking onto the north side of the cone, if anything. So Pelham, I'd be concerned if I were you. It is headed your direction. It seems like it might actually be deflecting a little bit to the right, which is sometimes what we see in a stronger tornado. This is a debris tracking software that we use as part of our radars nowadays. We have more technology. It's very hard to say right now if there's any signature that would indicate debris lofted into the air. I don't see that right now from that scan, but that's not the end-all be-all. If we zoom in a little bit closer, let's give you the latest roads. Highway 29, it is just about 3-4 miles away from you. Law Road, just about right over you at the moment. And again, the storm center is 2 miles from Highway 29. So this is about to cross Highway 29 in 2 miles. We just talked about another storm doing this near Reedsville. This one, same idea. So no need to panic if you're in this area, but we do want you to protect yourself. Know where to go. Have a safe spot in your home that you can always identify. And if we're talking about this warning and it doesn't affect you in your neighborhoods and your parts of the triad, this is a good reminder to have that safe spot, have that place to go. Revisit your plan because this could happen anywhere. And it has happened anywhere in our area. You never know when you'll be next. So anyway, this is the storm that we're still tracking just to the south of Pelham. And it's right around Law Road, Newnham Road, and Bob Golden Road as well. We have also Old US 29, Goodman Road, Red Marshall Road, and of course, Highway 29. And it really is a highway up there, of course, practically like an interstate. That's where it would be crossing, and not that far from the Virginia border. So we're going to follow this thing for you for a while. The warning continues until 6:45. Remember, we have another warning as well that we want to make sure we're following over here